Hey all, Pixel here in Pro Garage, and those wheels we picked up a little while ago are going to be going on the Cube, but I got a little work before that happens. So these are Mitsubishi Starion wheels from the 80s. I picked them up a couple weeks ago down in Jersey. I meant to do stuff on them before I had tires mounted, but I got a really good deal from the local tire shop on tires, so I just went ahead. These are actually the factory size from the Cube. I wanted to go a little wider, but the tire availability in 15 inches kind of sucks these days unless you're getting a much taller tire. So this was what was available, and I just decided to go for it because they were cheap enough that later, if I find better tires, I can always swap them out. So what I want to do is obviously clean these up. They've got a lot of something embedded in them. They've got a lot of mess from both the tire mounting and from being stored for many years. And then I want to touch up the paint here, and then this face I have an idea for wrapping. I'm probably going to actually, now that I'm looking at it, I think these little vents I'm going to paint because they were raw, but they're kind of nasty. Alrighty, these have all been scrubbed. McGuire's Hot Rims aluminum, pretty decent. Was able to get most of these looking really good. Got a lot, not all, but I got a lot of the brake dust out of these. Some are worse than others. It's like clear, like this was a front wheel. There's no question about just the amount of brake dust that's in there. I don't know. I'm second guessing painting those, because if that's the raw metal, the paint's only going to grab brake dust worse, I think. Because they're not being powder coated, so, and it's not a smooth surface. It's not like there's going to be the slickness to help keep the brake dust from sticking. I don't know. The centers are getting painted though, because like one is black and 3 others have lost most of the blackness. There's going to be some polishing work I want to do. Like this one's got a little bit of corrosion over here. The faces on some of them are better than others. Like this one's nice and smooth. This one's got some texture to it, like there's embed in it. So I'm not worrying about getting them perfect, but I do want to get them as nice as possible before I do anything else with them. Alrighty, so that didn't do as much as I'd hoped. They're a little bit shinier. The big thing it did was the surface is smoother. Like, I can't really show you, like this is a texture. You can see, like that one's very shiny. This one's significantly less, but this had a very strong texture, and now it has very little texture. So improvement, not all I'd hoped for, but I will take an improvement. I'm missing 2 of the center caps. I have no idea if those are even available, but what I'm probably going to end up doing anyway, seeing if I can get a friend of mine with a filament printer to 3D print me some replacement caps. They're held in by a spring. That part's going to be a bigger problem, but that's a future me problem. That's not a today problem. So we talked about vinyl wrapping that. This is the vinyl that I acquired. It is a black vinyl with a honeycomb that's a purple, blue, red sort of iridescence. Some green in there too. So that should be interesting. So that went poorly. So a lot of issues. The biggest one being I'm a dingbat and I'm using a steel blade without paying attention on an aluminum wheel, so I put a bunch of grooves in it. I mean, they'll all polish out, but still feel stupid for that. Though I'm going to end up probably doing it some more. One full sheet, as you saw it, I was trying to do, doesn't work. Wrinkles too much. This whole thing's dished in slightly, and then between that and trying to get it in here, and this is raised up, I'm going to have to do each one in pieces. I like the look. I like the look. I don't know if I'm going to be any good at this. I mean, I guess worst case scenario, I put them on, and if they start peeling off or I decide they look like ass, I can take them back off. That's the beauty of vinyl. But the concept definitely works, even if my execution isn't any good. Okay, I'm no good at this. Yeah. Not sure what to do because I've been futzing with these, and I'm bad at this, like really bad at this. I think I'm going to paint the centers, put them on the car, and come back to this later, possibly get a friend of mine who used to do vinyl signs and wraps and stuff to help me out with it, because that'll probably go a lot better than me doing it. Just tiny, wee little problem. So I painted the centers of these real quick and put them on because I decided I'm just doing that for now. And tighten them up. I was gonna drive them back and forth real quick to just make sure that the wheels are seated properly so I can double check the lug nuts. And well, there's a small problem. Yeah, it's catching on the rotor. Not the rotor, the caliper, I believe. It is a 15-inch, but it's an old 15-inch, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Alright, well, there's what it is. It's actually worse than I thought, but there's a big gouge there, because that's this right here. Now, I think what makes the most sense is to take a bunch of material off of this, or put a wheel spacer on. I think we're going to see how easy it is to get a hold of a thin pair of wheel spacers, because that would be the fastest and easiest solution. That would, you know, and then I don't have to worry about, if I change parts later, something that, you know, if I don't want to grind away at the wheel, because then if I rotate the wheels I have to remember to do it to the other ones. It did take a fair sized whack out of that wheel. So yeah, I'm going to see if I can get like a, I don't know, 1/4 inch maybe, and then I think if I put a 1/4 inch spacer that might be enough. And if that's not enough, I can take some material off of this, but I don't have to take nearly as much off. So yeah, not a problem I expected to have. Looking at this though, it almost looks like the back of this was machined at some point. So I'm wondering if that's the source of my problem, is that these wheels had something done to them at some point. I don't know. I don't know these wheels well enough to know, but yeah, we're gonna have to do something about that. It's another day. I'm going to try and do a quick and dirty, see if I can get the wheel to fit. Getting power cord. I'm going to grind away at that brake bracket, and I'm going to do a little bit of grinding on the back of the wheel. Not a lot, because I don't want to take too much structure out of it, but a little bit. See where that gets me, and if that seems like it's getting me close, I'll put a 1/4 inch spacer on, with the intent of ordering longer lug nuts or lug studs, because I think a 1/4 inch spacer on these should be okay, but I'll put longer studs in to be 100% sure, because I'm going to, you know, for driving long term. But I'm having a little bit of difficulty figuring out which are the right extended studs to put in this, because I'm getting some conflicting information when I Google it. And I went on the Nissan group and said, hey, what are the extended studs that I need for this? And basically got nothing but a guy arguing with me that I should put on the bolt-on spacers. And I'm like, I need a 1/2 inch spacer. They don't make a bolt-on spacer like that. And he proceeds to link me to one where I would have to cut all 4 studs to fit on the bolt-on spacer. And I'm like, I'm not cutting my lug studs to put on a bolt-on spacer when I can put in longer lug studs and put on a, you know, 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch spacer. So humans. But yeah, I'm just gonna kind of hack away at stuff and then see where that gets me. I've taken this down, and then once I took that down, I realized the caliper was now the high spot. So I've taken the front of that down a little. I was very, very careful with the caliper. I did not take much of this out at all. I mostly just smoothed out the front of the casting. But with that, and with taking a little bit off all of these ribs, this is not as consistent as it should be. But I did take a little bit off. There was also some nubs sticking out of the bottoms of some of them that I went at. It's still not even close. It's still not sitting, like, it's not sitting on the hub yet. And since it's not sitting on the hub, I'd have to take a lot more material out, so I think I'm gonna have to go try and get that 1/4 inch spacer. 1/4 inch is the maximum I feel comfortable putting on here without longer studs. And if that doesn't work, then we're waiting, we're getting longer studs, and we're putting a 1/2 inch spacer on it. I'm willing to do that to make the wheels fit, because especially with longer studs, that's perfectly safe. But I'm not super happy about that, because these just barely stick out from the fenders, and that will push them out maybe just a little more than I want. Though it does give me an excuse to maybe decide to do fender flares down the line. I don't know. I'm a little frustrated, but it is what it is, because I am trying to fit vintage wheels. So there's always that risk when you're fitting not the original wheels, but especially older wheels. It's like the van has incredibly tight clearances. I have to have them when they balance the wheels on the front of the van, those mags. I had to have them put all of the weights like this towards the center with nothing. It can't take these weights, but I couldn't have them glue weights onto the edge, because that lower ball joint is so tight that it literally would just scrape the weights off immediately. But I want to get these on because they look cool. Also, they have good tires. Tired of driving around on shitty old tires. So yeah, I'm gonna go get those spacers and I'm gonna come back. All right, I put the 1/4 inch spacer on, and now I have a ton of clearance, and I'm not quite sure what the hell's going on. But I'm not going to complain that now it's nowhere near. The lug studs, I have enough thread that I think if these were just standard lug nuts, the really boring kind, the threads would be basically right at the outside of them, which is the bare minimum possible to be safe. Realistically, you should have like at least 2 threads passed. So like I said, I think these are fine for right now, but I'm gonna get longer studs just to be sure. I'd rather be safe than sorry, but yeah, it's totally clearing now. What I'm gonna try and do on the other side is just put the spacer on, because if the spacer just works, I save myself a bunch of hassle. Yeah, the other thing I'm gonna do is shoot this. I need to shoot this caliper with some paint just because it's exposed metal right now. This side, yeah, I should have just started with the spacer. Just worked. This side's got the stock hub, the other side's got that replacement hub I put in, and the studs are smaller on this side, so I'm not quite so confident on this side. But I'm going to order new studs. That was already a plan, so this will do for now. I just won't plan on taking it far or driving it fast. It'll just be my around town car until those come in. But yeah, it just clears. I don't understand, because like the dent it put in the wheel seemed like that was at least a 1/4 inch. So, and even then that was just enough to make it clear, but like I put a 1/4 inch spacer in and it clears with a bunch of whatever. I shouldn't question it. Anyway, I'm gonna take this for a spin, see if it rubs anywhere, and if it doesn't, then we are done for right now. So I just literally backed it to the end of the driveway and forward, and remember the comment I made about the van and having to put the wheel weights in a very specific place to keep them from scraping? Those wheel weights I used as an example are scraping on the caliper. So they're just barely scraping. So I think what I'm going to do is just pop that wheel off, just smooth out the caliper right where the grind marks are, and I should be 100% golden. All right, well, I just ground away at it, and it's still making a little bit of noise, but way less than before. I think it's at this point it's basically rubbing on the embossed numbers on the wheel weights. So for a drive around the block, I'm going to call that good enough, since I'm going to have to be taking these wheels off again once I get those studs. But I'm going to go take this for a quick ride. Clearly there's a bigger issue. Something, I think in the left wheel, something is rubbing when I'm not on the brake. So we're gonna pull them off and try again. All right, I ground that a little bit, and then I noticed that these all move around. I noticed when I was trying to grind on them to take just a little bit of height off of them, because it's such a close clearance. that, but like you can see, these are all sort of shift around. And I realized when I was driving, every time I'd hit the brakes, the sound would go away, which means the very slight movement inboard of the caliper to grab the pads was enough to solve the clearance problem. So since it's knocked several of these loose, what I think I'm going to do, I've got some 3M super heavy duty tape. I think I'm going to move these all over hard up against, you know, this, like just get these over as far as I can. And I think since they're rubbing on the back here, that should move them just far enough that they won't rub anywhere, because the front of the caliper's got that curve to it. All right, there we are. These are locked into that 3M tape. What I just did is flip them all over, because then I figured they'd be sticking to the nice clean top surface for simplicity. So hopefully that'll work. If this doesn't work, I will get some more wheel weights and I will experiment with other methods. But I think this should be okay, because the strip where they were hitting is back here. So everything is way back, and then these that are even somewhat close are all tipped as well. It's that little bit of a lip there that is why they're tipped. But I think those will be fine, and hopefully that'll solve my problem on this side for all. So now what we're going to do is go over to the other side and see if there's something rubbing over here, or if this was what I was hearing. So that side didn't appear to be rubbing, but I wasn't 100% sure if the marks on that caliper bracket were just from the first time or from this drive as well. So I shaved that down a little bit, shut everything with paint, and put it back together. I really don't like the lugs on that side. I really don't feel like it's safe to drive it more than just around town. So it looks amazing, but it's going to be like my go to get my coffee and come back car until I resolve that. But it does look freaking amazing even now. I want to do more with these. I want to paint those vent areas. I'm not sure what color, maybe the same blue, and I'm definitely going to want to put something on the face of them. But even now, I like that look. Very, very cool. So I think that's going to do me for now. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.